The galaxy had known many wars before, but nothing like this. The Vorn came without warning. They were not like other species that sent envoys or demanded territory. They arrived in dark fleets, silent and fast, crushing planets in their path. Whole colonies disappeared within days. One world after another fell and no one could stop them. Their ships were black, shaped like blades, and their weapons burned everything they touched. The Galactic Alliance gathered in a massive floating station at the edge of neutral space. It was a place where representatives of many species met during great crises. Inside the great chamber, voices rose in panic. The tall, blue-skinned Reen shouted first. They destroyed 3 systems in less than a month. They will come here next. We cannot hold them back alone. The silver-eyed Norvi followed. We should combine fleets. If we throw everything at them, maybe we can slow them down. But we must act now. Everyone talked at once, but one corner of the chamber stayed quiet. A single human sat there watching. His name was Leon. He was the envoy for humanity, representing Earth. He wore no shining armor and brought no army with him. He only had a calm face and sharp eyes. He listened to every word but said nothing. One of the Reen pointed at him. You humans joined this alliance 2 decades ago. Where are your ships? Where are your soldiers? You have always stayed far from our wars. Leon stood slowly, his movements calm. Humanity will not speak in panic, he said. We will act when the time comes. The chamber filled with laughter. The Norvi sneered. Act when? When the Vorn reach your doorstep, they will not stop. They do not bargain. They do not leave survivors. You think your small fleets will save you? Leon did not argue. He simply sat down again. To outsiders, it looked like fear or weakness. To those who knew him well, it was something else. Humanity had been silent for years, watching the stars, trading, exploring. Many believed they were behind in strength. Few ever thought they were preparing for a storm. Outside the council chambers, news of the Vorn spread fast. Images of burning planets filled galactic channels. Refugees fled to safer systems. Patrol fleets vanished in minutes. For the first time in 100 years, the Alliance realized it might not be able to win. On Earth, far away from the noise, a different kind of silence filled underground bases. Men and women in black uniforms moved in perfect order. Commanders reviewed maps. Fleets moved out of hidden docks, and weapons no alien had ever seen were loaded onto colossal ships. The sky above Earth looked peaceful, but beneath that calm, everything was ready for war. A young pilot named Ryan watched the fleet's engines ignite. He had trained for this day since he was 16. Like many humans, he had grown up hearing stories of wars in other parts of the galaxy. Now the war was coming to them. Beside him, Captain Mira placed a hand on his shoulder. This is the moment they have been waiting for. Let them keep laughing. When they see us rise, they will understand. Back at the council, tension grew. Reports came in every hour. The Vorn have taken the Iru system. The Loma defense line is down. Another planet burned. Every message was worse than the last. Some species prepared to surrender, some planned to flee, but Leon remained calm. He waited, knowing exactly what his people were doing far away from the council's noise. The Vorn did not slow down. They enjoyed crushing defenses. Their fleets left trails of black smoke through space. No one had ever forced them to retreat. Their leader, a massive being known only as the Warlord, sent no message of demand. His answer to every plea was fire. When the Vorn destroyed the Iru system, something changed. Refugee ships tried to escape but were hunted down. Even the strongest fleets in the region were wiped out in hours. The Alliance finally understood that their combined strength might not be enough. In that moment of fear, Leon spoke for the first time in days. The time has come, he said quietly. Earth will stand. The other representatives stared at him as if he had gone mad. Your fleet is small, the Norvi shouted. You cannot even defend your own system. What are you talking about? Leon walked to the center of the chamber. His boots echoed through the silence. For years you looked at Earth and saw a quiet world. You saw traders, explorers, settlers. You thought we were weak. But humanity learned from watching. We learned from your wars. We built what we needed, not what we wanted to show. The Reen narrowed his eyes. Are you saying you have a hidden fleet? Leon did not answer that question directly. He simply said, We are not afraid of the Vorn. When they come, we will meet them. The chamber fell silent. No one laughed this time. Even those who mocked humanity began to sense something different in his voice. It was not arrogance. It was certainty. While the Council argued, the Vorn fleet entered the outer defense lines of the Alliance. The first contact was brutal. Ships burned, stations shattered, and every planet in their way was left as ash. The enemy moved like a wall of darkness. There were no demands, no negotiations, only destruction. Rian and Mira stood inside their fighter hangar, watching the giant human dreadnought rise from its dock. It was not like the old human ships used for trade. This was built for war. Every inch of it carried firepower and armor. It was a warship the galaxy had never seen before. "Do you think they understand what's coming?" Ryan asked. Mira shook her head. "Not yet. But they will. And when they see, they will never forget." Leon returned to his quarters that night. He looked at the stars through the glass window. Humanity had kept its strength hidden for a reason. They did not want to rule. They did not want to fight endless wars. But there were moments in history when silence had to end. This was one of those moments. Messages from Earth arrived on his secure line. The first wave of fleets had left the Sol system. Carriers, fighters, and warships filled space like a growing storm. Their engines burned with purpose. They did not travel for defense. They were heading to the war front. On the Council screens, more reports arrived. The Alliance was losing. Fleets fell one after another. Fear spread faster than fire. Many believed this would be the end of the Alliance. But Leon looked at the map with calm eyes. He knew what the galaxy did not. When the Vorn reached the edge of Alliance space, the humans would be waiting. Not with words, but with power. The Reen called for another meeting that night. "If we do not act together now, the Vorn will consume us all. We must unite our fleets and fight at the capital system." Leon rose once more. "You fight in fear. We fight with purpose. Humanity will not run." The Norvi tried to speak again, but stopped when he saw Leon's face. There was something in the human's eyes that made even the boldest alien hesitate. It was not madness. It was conviction. Across the galaxy, whispers began to spread among the frightened refugees and soldiers. They had heard the rumors for years. Some said humanity was weak. Some said they were silent because they feared war. But some believed a different story. They said Earth had always been preparing in the dark, waiting for the right moment. That moment was near. Inside the human command center, the Supreme Fleet Commander gave a single order. "Form the spearhead. We go to war." Rows of officers answered as one. Their voices filled the hall with strength. For the first time, humanity would show the galaxy what it had become. And far away in the blackness of space, the Vorn continued to move forward, not knowing that the quiet species they ignored was about to meet them head-on. The silent threat that had crushed others would soon face something it had never faced before. Humanity was done watching. The storm was about to rise. The galaxy watched the Vorn move closer. They did not speak, they did not pause, and they did not know fear. One star system after another fell to their black fleets. Every battle ended the same way. They would appear without warning, strike fast, and leave nothing alive. The Alliance had seen many wars, but never a threat like this. On the floating council station, the air was heavy with panic. Representatives of dozens of species shouted at one another. The Reen slammed the table with his long hand. "They will reach the capital system within weeks. Our fleets are falling apart. We cannot stop them like this." The Norvi stood up next. His silver eyes flashed with anger. "This is not just about one world. If they take the capital, the Alliance will collapse. We will be picked off one by one. We need every ship, every fighter. Even the humans must fight now." Everyone turned their eyes toward Leon. The human envoy sat at the same table as before, his face calm, his hands folded. The room was filled with fear, but he looked steady, as if nothing around him could shake him. The Reen pointed at him. "Enough silence. If humanity has anything, show it now. If not, then admit that you have nothing." Leon slowly stood up. His voice was calm and clear. "You will have your answer soon. Earth will stand." The room exploded with noise. Some laughed in disbelief. Some shouted that it was too late. Others simply shook their heads. They had no faith in a species that had never shown its strength before. But while the council argued, human fleets were already moving, deep beneath Earth's surface. In hidden launch bays, massive ships rose from their cradles. Their hulls were dark gray, their engines burned bright, and their weapons gleamed in silence. Rows of pilots moved through metal halls, their faces focused and ready. They had trained for years in secret, waiting for the day when they would be called to defend not only their home but the galaxy itself. Rian stood inside the launch bay with his flight suit on. Around him, hundreds of other pilots checked their fighters. The ground shook as dreadnoughts left orbit. Above them, the sky was filled with glowing trails. Humanity's hidden fleet had awakened. Captain Mira approached him with a small nod. She carried herself like a soldier who had seen many battles. "This is not like training," she said. "When we arrive at the front, it will be chaos. The Vorn are not like anything we've faced before." Ryan nodded. "I know, but we trained for this. They think we are weak. That will be their mistake." The fleet left Earth without fanfare. No news broadcast, no public speech. The movement was fast, silent, and exact. The Alliance did not even know how many ships humanity truly had. They would find out soon. Meanwhile, the Vorn moved closer to the capital system. Their black ships tore through every defense in their way. A small Alliance fleet tried to slow them at the Yara Gate, but the fight lasted only an hour. Wreckage floated in space as a warning to anyone who stood in their path. The Vorn warlord stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars ahead. He felt no fear, only hunger for conquest. His race had never met an enemy strong enough to stand against them. In his mind, the galaxy was already his. Back at the council, fear turned into despair. "We cannot hold them," one of the Reen said. "They will take the capital world in less than 10 days. After that, the Alliance will fall apart." "We should surrender," someone whispered. The Norvi slammed his fist. "No, if we surrender, we lose everything. If we fight, at least we die with honor." Leon listened without interrupting. When the shouting finally died down, he walked to the center of the chamber. His boots echoed through the silence. He looked at each representative and then said, "Humanity will not surrender. We will fight. And we will win." Some shook their heads. "Your fleet is small," the Norvi said. "Even if you fight, it will not change the end." Leon stared at him with calm eyes. "You will see." A message flashed on his private screen. It was a single line from Earth Command. "First wave deployed. Arrival in 5 days." Leon closed the message without a word. The time to reveal humanity's strength had not yet come. But it was close. The Alliance began evacuations from the capital system. Families were loaded onto transport ships. Military stations prepared for the last stand. The air was filled with fear. Even the strongest fleets trembled at the thought of the Vorn's arrival. In deep space, humanity's fleet formed into tight battle groups. Massive carriers moved with precision, flanked by fast strike ships and heavy dreadnoughts. Fighters flew in formation like sharp arrows. Every crew member had trained for this day. Inside his cockpit, Ryan ran his hands over the controls. He could feel the hum of the engines beneath him. "I never thought we'd show them everything," he whispered. Mira's voice came through the comms. "It's time the galaxy learned who we really are." For years, humanity had watched the galaxy fight endless wars. They had traded, learned, and built in silence. Most species thought they were just explorers and settlers. That was exactly what humanity wanted them to think. Now the mask would fall. 5 days later, the Vorn reached the edge of the capital system. Their fleets darkened the stars. They moved like a tide of metal, filling space with death. The Alliance sent out a final warning. The Vorn ignored it. Inside the capital command station, alarms blared. The Reen commander shouted orders. "All defense lines ready. Every ship, every gun, hold the line." But deep down, they all knew what would happen. The Vorn were too strong. Their numbers were too high. Their weapons were unmatched. Then the comms officer shouted, "Incoming transmission from the human fleet." The entire command room froze. For years, humanity had been quiet. Now their signal filled the air. Leon's face appeared on the main screen. He was standing on the bridge of a massive dreadnought. Behind him, rows of human officers worked in silence. "This is Leon of Earth," he said. "We are here. We will stand." Before the Reen commander could respond, the human fleet jumped into the system. Hundreds of massive warships appeared in perfect formation. Their engines burned like suns. Their hulls carried no bright colors or symbols, only the mark of Earth. The Vorn stopped advancing for the first time. The Reen commander whispered, "Where did they get all this?" No one answered. Humanity had never shown their power before. Now the galaxy was seeing it for the first time. In his fighter, Rian looked at the endless rows of enemy ships ahead. He could feel his heart pounding, but it was not fear. It was focus. He thought about every hour of training, every mission, every drill. Mira's voice came through the comms again. "This is what we were born for. No retreat. No retreat." Ryan answered. The Vorn sent a wave of ships forward, confident they would crush the defenders. But the humans did not move in panic. They moved like a single machine. Every fighter, every ship, every gun was in position. Their lines were straight, their engines steady, their weapons locked. The Reen commander on the capital station stared at the tactical screen. They're holding formation. Even against this many ships, how? Leon's voice came through again. You built your fleets to impress. We built ours to win. The Vorn fleet advanced like a storm. But for the first time in their long history of conquest, they faced an enemy that did not run. Humanity stood at the center of the battlefield, silent and ready. Across the Alliance, billions of refugees and soldiers watched the broadcast. They saw the human fleet standing against the darkness. They heard Leon's steady voice. This is your last warning, Leon said to the Vorn. Leave this system, or we will stop you. The Vorn warlord laughed from his command throne. He had never retreated before. In his mind, this would be no different. But deep down, something he had never felt before flickered at the edge of his thoughts. It was the smallest hint of doubt. The battle had not yet begun, but the tide of history had already started to shift. Humanity had revealed its presence, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The storm was gathering, and the Vorn were walking straight into it. The Vorn had reached the capital system. Their black fleets filled the stars, forming a wall of metal around the planet. Their engines burned cold, their ships shaped like long blades. They had never faced defeat. Every battle they entered ended with fire. They did not believe this one would be different. From the bridge of the Vorn flagship, the warlord looked at the tactical display. The enemy fleet was in front of him, spread across the void. It was smaller than his own armada. To him, that meant it would be easy. He had no respect for the defenders. He had crushed stronger fleets before, but what he did not understand was that this enemy was not like the others. Humanity was not afraid. Across the system, human warships stood in perfect formation. Carriers floated behind the line. Dreadnoughts formed the shield, and fighter wings filled the space between. Every ship moved with silent precision. Engines burned steady and bright. On the human dreadnought Iron Resolve, Leon stood at the center of the command bridge. Around him, officers worked calmly. No one shouted. No one panicked. Their movements were sharp and focused. They had trained for this moment for years. Enemy fleet is closing in, reported one of the officers. Status of our formation, Leon asked. All lines are in place. Fighter wings ready to launch on your order. Leon nodded. He looked at the display. Red lines marked the approaching Vorn armada. Blue lines showed the human formation. The Vorn had the numbers. Humanity had the plan. Down in the fighter bay, Ryan sat in the cockpit of his fighter. He checked the control panel again and again. The engines hummed beneath him. Hundreds of other pilots sat ready in their ships. They all waited for a single word. Captain Mira's voice came through the comms. All wings hold position. Wait for the signal. No one moves until the line opens. Ryan gripped the controls. His heart beat fast, but not from fear. He felt a strange calm. He had trained for this since he was 16. This was the moment every pilot had been waiting for. Above the planet, the Reen and Norvi fleets formed a defensive circle. Their captains were nervous. They had fought the Vorn before and lost badly, but they looked at the human ships and saw something different. There was no hesitation in their movement. It looked like they had done this 1,000 times. The Vorn sent their first wave. Thousands of black attack ships rushed forward. Their engines flared like angry stars. They came fast, confident that the defenders would break under their first strike. Leon raised his hand. Open the line. Human dreadnoughts slowly moved apart, creating a gap in the center of the formation. It looked like a mistake to the Vorn. They thought the humans were panicking. The Vorn rushed straight into the gap. Launch fighters, Leon said. At that instant, hundreds of human fighters shot forward like silver arrows. They moved fast, cutting through space with perfect coordination. Their formation was tight and deadly. Ryan followed the lead squadron, weaving between the giant enemy ships. Targets locked, Mira's voice said. Engage, Leon answered. The sky exploded. Human fighters darted through the Vorn wave with impossible speed. Their weapons tore through the black hulls. The Vorn were used to slow and messy resistance. They were not ready for precision like this. Their front line shattered in minutes. From the bridge of the Vorn flagship, the warlord leaned forward. How are they doing this? he growled. His officers struggled to respond. Their formation was breaking apart. The humans moved like a single mind. Every fighter strike was part of a larger plan. Send in the second wave, the warlord commanded. The black ships pushed forward again. But the humans were already one step ahead. Heavy cannons from the dreadnoughts fired in perfect timing. Every shot hit its target. The Vorn were used to brute force, but here they faced control. On the ground below, civilians who had not escaped watched the battle through giant screens. They saw the human fleet fighting in perfect unity. It gave them hope they had never felt before. Inside his fighter, Ryan locked onto another enemy ship. He twisted the controls and slid under its hull, releasing a burst of energy that tore through its engine. The black ship exploded behind him. "Wing 7, push left," Mira ordered. "Yes, Captain," Ryan replied. His squad turned smoothly, moving like water through space. Meanwhile, the Alliance fleets tried to regroup behind the humans. They had never seen a battle like this. The humans were not just fighting the Vorn. They were cutting them apart piece by piece. Leon watched the battle map. Red marks representing enemy ships were disappearing at a steady pace. His fleet was holding its ground without breaking formation. "Enemy is trying to flank from the east line," one officer reported. "Shift formation C," Leon ordered calmly. The human ships turned as one. Their side cannons opened fire. The flanking ships were erased in seconds. The Vorn commanders shouted in confusion. They had never seen an enemy respond this fast. On the Vorn flagship, panic spread among the lower officers. "Their coordination is too strong. We cannot break them." The warlord's red eyes narrowed. He had crushed countless fleets, but this one felt different. Every strike he made was answered faster than he expected. For the first time in his long rule, a shadow of doubt passed through his mind. "Bring in the flagship line," he ordered. "We crushed their core directly." A new wave of massive Vorn ships moved forward. They were the heaviest and deadliest weapons in the Armada. The Reen commander watching from the capital station turned pale. "They are bringing the core ships. No fleet has ever survived that." Leon heard the same report. He did not flinch. "Bring the hammers forward," he said. The human dreadnoughts moved into the front line. These were the largest ships Earth had ever built. They had stayed hidden for years, their power unknown to the galaxy. Now their cannons glowed bright. The two fleets met at the center of the system. Explosions lit up the darkness. Dreadnought against dreadnought. Giant ships clashed in a storm of fire. The Vorn expected a brutal, slow exchange. But the human dreadnoughts were faster, their weapons more accurate, their shields stronger. Ryan flew past one of the massive battleships and saw the cannons firing in synchronized lines. Every shot was like a heartbeat. It was not just war. It was strategy. "Flagship formation is breaking," an officer reported on the Vorn bridge. "That is not possible," the warlord shouted. But it was. The human fleet had created a trap. Their formation had slowly tightened around the Vorn's heaviest ships. Now they struck from every side. It was like steel jaws closing on prey. On the Reen command deck, officers stared at the screen in silence. One of them whispered, "They are winning." Inside the fighter, Ryan pushed his ship to its limit, dodging enemy fire and striking where the Vorn were weakest. "Wing 7 with me," he called. His team followed, cutting through another wave of fighters. Mira's voice came through again. "We have them. Keep pressing." On the human dreadnought, Leon stood tall as the battle tilted fully in humanity's favor. The enemy flagship tried to pull back, but the trap was already closed. The warlord slammed his fist on the control panel. Retreat is not an option. Forward. But his ships were no longer listening like before. Their lines were in chaos. Their formations had shattered. The humans had broken what no one had broken before. Across the system, every Alliance soldier watching the broadcast stared in shock. They had never seen the Vorn falter. They had never seen them lose ground. And now, for the first time in their long history, the Vorn began to fall back. Rian's fighter flew past the burning remains of an enemy ship. He saw the black tide breaking. A feeling grew inside his chest. It was not just pride. It was the weight of history changing right in front of him. Leon's voice echoed across the human fleet. "Advance." The human warships moved forward. Their guns lit up the dark sky. The Vorn flagship, once a symbol of terror, was now surrounded. The warlord stood at the edge of his bridge, staring at the incoming dreadnought. He had never seen an enemy advance like this. He had never felt the cold grip of doubt. The Reen commander on the capital station whispered. They are doing it. The humans are pushing them back. Leon raised his hand again. Focus fire on the flagship. Every human dreadnought locked onto the warlord's ship. A single unified volley struck its hull. The black flagship shook under the impact. The Vorn officers screamed as systems began to fail. On the human comms, the fleet cheered, but Leon's voice stayed calm.
Keep the pressure.
No mercy for those who brought fire to our door. The Vorn flagship began to retreat. Their entire armada followed. They had never done that before. For the first time in the history of their conquest, they were forced to fall back. Rian watched them break apart, a sight no one thought possible. Mira's voice came through the comms. We made them run. They thought we were weak, Ryan said. They were wrong. The capital system that was meant to fall now stood firm. The Vorn had been stopped. The sky that had once belonged to them was now shattered, and in the silent void of space, every species in the galaxy watched as humanity rose. The Vorn retreat had stunned the galaxy. Never before had a single species resisted them so decisively. Across Alliance worlds, beings whispered about humanity. No one had expected this. No one had imagined that the quiet, distant species from Earth could face a warlord like the Vorn, and not only survive, but dominate. Inside the human flagship Iron Resolve, Leon stood at the command bridge. The displays around him showed the remnants of the shattered enemy fleet. The Vorn ships were retreating in disarray. Smoke trailed from destroyed engines, and their once perfect formations had broken entirely. One officer turned to him. Sir, they are fleeing. Their flagship is damaged beyond repair. What are your orders? Leon did not hesitate. His eyes scanned the map, calculating positions, predicting enemy movements. Maintain the encirclement, he said calmly. Do not let them regroup. Show them the consequences of their attacks. At that moment, the Alliance representatives watching the live feed were speechless. The Reen, the Norvi, and dozens of other species had come to fear the Vorn, and now they were witnessing humans dictating the terms of war. Some whispered in awe, others whispered in fear. Humanity had revealed more than power. They had revealed control, precision, and understanding of warfare unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Below the fleet, Ryan guided his fighter through the debris of enemy ships. Every move was calculated. Enemy ships tried to regroup in small clusters, hoping to strike back, but the human fighters were already in position. Ryan watched as his wingmates tore through the Vorn ships like knives through silk. Ryan, watch the flank, Mira's voice warned. They might attempt a sudden strike from the system's edge. I see them, Rian replied. He banked sharply, firing a volley of energy at the approaching ships. Their engines exploded, sending fragments spinning into space. The humans moved like one organism. Every fighter, every dreadnought, every cannon acted as a single part of a well-oiled machine. The Vorn warlord's flagship limped toward the far edge of the system. Red lights flashed across its hull. Damage reports flooded in, systems failing one after another. For the first time, the warlord felt panic claw at him. He had ruled through fear and force, and now he faced a species that refused to be intimidated. On the Vorn bridge, officers shouted, pointing at the humans' formations. They anticipate every move, one said in disbelief. Every attack is blocked. Every counterstrike is precise. The warlord's claws tightened over the console. They are more than humans, he hissed. They are perfect in strategy. Leon watched the enemy fleet like a conductor watching an orchestra. Target the flagship's energy core, he commanded. Synchronize fire. This ends now. Every dreadnought, every ship with a weapon capable of reaching the flagship, locked on. A beam of blue energy built across multiple ships converging on the Vorn flagship. In moments, the weapon fired. The flagship shook violently under the impact. Sparks flew from broken consoles and alarms screamed across the bridge. The warlord roared, but it was no longer a roar of strength. It was a roar of disbelief and frustration. Every move he had anticipated was already countered. Every plan had failed. Back on the human flagship, Leon remained calm. Do not stop until it is disabled, he said. Focus all firepower on the core systems. Leave nothing functional. Ryan watched as the flagship's shields began to flicker and then fail entirely. The energy core glowed red, unstable and exposed. One last coordinated strike hit the target. The Vorn flagship exploded silently in space. Pieces of black metal drifted apart, burning slowly in the starlight. The remaining Vorn ships hesitated, Some attempted to flee, others tried to regroup into formations, but the humans anticipated every movement. Each ship that tried to escape was intercepted by fighters or destroyed by heavy dreadnought fire. The Vorn's confidence was gone. They had never faced a species that could outthink them so completely. On the capital station, the Reen commander whispered in awe. They are controlling the battle. Humanity is leading it. Across the galaxy, civilians and soldiers alike watched transmissions of the battle. They saw humans coordinating fleets, striking with precision, and dismantling the Vorn in a way that no species could have imagined. It was not just war. It was a display of mastery, a demonstration of intellect and strength combined. In the human command center, Leon turned to his officers. Begin stabilization protocols. Prepare for Vorn surrender negotiations. Sir, they may try one final attack, an officer warned. Then they will fail, Leon replied. His calmness inspired the crew. No one panicked. No one hesitated. Every human on the bridge understood the responsibility of this moment. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had to show not just strength but discipline. Ryan guided his fighter toward a small cluster of Vorn ships attempting to flee through a narrow asteroid belt. The pilots were skilled, but Ryan and his squad were faster, smarter, and coordinated. One by one, the ships were disabled, forced to surrender or destroyed. Mira spoke over the comms. All units hold formation around captured ships. Do not destroy without orders. We need proof of control, not chaos. The Vorn warlord hidden on a smaller vessel realized his defeat. His forces were shattered, his flagship destroyed, and his soldiers demoralized. He had ruled through fear for centuries, but humanity had shown that strength without control was meaningless. Across alliance channels, messages poured in. Humanity has stopped the Vorn. They controlled the battle alone. Our fleets are intact. They will need time to recover. Earth's strategy is unmatched. No species could have done this. Leon heard the reports but stayed focused. He knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had revealed its power, but the galaxy still needed to understand the responsibility that came with it. On the human flagship, he sent a broadcast to the remaining Vorn ships. Surrender. Lay down your weapons. Return to your home territories. Humanity will not destroy you unnecessarily, but any attempt to resume aggression will be met with total force. The Vorn fleet fell silent. For the first time they were uncertain. The warlord's voice, usually commanding and loud, was now filled with hesitation. We accept terms, he finally said. Across the system, humans began boarding disabled enemy ships. Soldiers moved with care, taking prisoners, securing technology, and ensuring no ship could threaten again. They were victorious, but the victory was measured and precise. Humanity had power, but they used it with discipline. Ryan flew back to the dreadnought as the last Vorn ship surrendered. Mira's voice came over the comms. Good work, all of you. The system is secure. Ryan smiled quietly. He thought about the battle, about how the humans had moved as one mind, and about the fear that now spread among the Vorn. We did it, he whispered. Leon watched from the bridge, staring at the calm stars after the storm. He knew the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity had revealed its true power, and the Vorn would never forget this lesson. But more than power, humanity had shown control, precision, and purpose. The Reen and Norvi representatives sent messages of gratitude and respect. For the first time, they looked at humans not as quiet newcomers but as equals, perhaps even as leaders. On the capital station, the Alliance Council finally gathered in order. Their discussions were quiet, respectful, and focused. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity was not to be underestimated. They were not simply observers or traders. They were protectors, strategists, and warriors unlike any other species. Leon sent one final message to the council. This is not the end of the war. This is the beginning of a new order. The galaxy will pause, consider, and learn. Humanity will always fight when it is necessary, and it will always act with purpose. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy paused. Civilizations across light years stopped their wars, paused their plans, and considered the quiet species from Earth. The humans had shattered expectations. They had broken the Vorn's advance. They had saved the Alliance, and yet the weight of power was heavy. Humanity had not conquered for glory or revenge. They had acted with restraint and purpose. They had shown that true strength was not only in weapons and ships but in discipline, strategy, and the courage to face overwhelming odds. Rian looked out of his fighter viewport at the stars. "Do you think they understand now?" he asked Mira. Mira nodded slowly. "They will. They will all understand. We showed them what humanity can do, and we did it without losing ourselves. That is the real power." Leon stayed on the bridge staring at the distant stars where the Vorn had once threatened the galaxy. He knew that the peace they had earned was fragile, but he also knew humanity had risen in a way that could never be ignored again. The galaxy had paused. It had seen the true weight of power. Humanity had risen, disciplined, and controlled, and the memory of this battle would echo across the stars for centuries. The battle was over. The Vorn had retreated, their fleet shattered, and their warlord defeated. Across the galaxy, silence fell. Planets that had trembled in fear now breathed with relief. The Alliance had survived, but it had done so not through its own strength, but because of humanity. The quiet species from Earth had revealed itself at last, and the galaxy would never be the same. Inside the human flagship Iron Resolve, Leon stood at the command bridge. The stars outside were calm now, but the memory of fire and destruction lingered. Reports streamed in from every corner of the system. The Vorn were retreating to the far edges of known space, their forces broken, their confidence shattered. Humanity had not merely defended the Alliance. It had rewritten what every species thought possible. One officer approached Leon. "Sir, the Vorn have formally surrendered. They are requesting terms. They will not attack again without negotiation." Leon nodded. "Prepare the terms. Make it clear that aggression against any Alliance world will result in immediate retaliation. Humanity's power is not a threat to peace, but it will enforce it." Rian and Mira flew through the quieted battlefield, surveying the destruction left by the Vorn and the human fleet. Broken ships floated among the stars, some destroyed, some captured. Even in victory, the human pilots moved with discipline, ensuring nothing would escape to threaten others. "They will not attack again," Rian said quietly. "Not after this." Mira shook her head. "They may still try, but they will remember who stopped them. That will last longer than any weapon." Across Alliance channels, word spread quickly. The Reen and Norvi and countless other species broadcast messages of astonishment and respect. "The humans have changed everything," one Reen commander said. "They did not just fight, they controlled the battle. They destroyed nothing unnecessarily. They have shown the galaxy what true strength is. The capital system was safe. Citizens who had fled watched the human fleet arrive, carrying humanitarian aid, supplies, and medical teams. Humanity had not only fought the Vorn, it had ensured the survivors were protected. Civilians, soldiers, and refugees alike marveled at the discipline and care with which the humans acted. Leon walked through the corridors of the Iron Resolve, observing his officers and crew. Everyone moved with purpose. They were not celebrating. They understood the weight of their actions. Humanity had shown power, but it had also shown responsibility. That was the true mark of strength. On the Vorn homeworld, the warlord convened his remaining officers. They were beaten, humiliated, and unsure how to proceed. For centuries, their race had dominated through fear, but now they faced a species that had broken them without losing control, without chaos, without revenge. The warlord's claws clenched around his command console. "We underestimated them," he admitted. "Humanity is not like any other. We will need to retreat and rebuild, and we must never underestimate them again." Back in the Alliance Council chambers, representatives from across the galaxy watched the human fleet stabilize the system. The Norvi turned to the Reen. "They are not just warriors," he said softly. "They are strategists, protectors, and leaders. The galaxy has underestimated them for too long." Leon sent a final message to the Alliance Council. "The Vorn have surrendered. Their forces are retreating. Humanity has acted to protect peace and enforce order, not for conquest. Let this be a warning and a promise. We will defend life, not destroy it. The galaxy will know the power of purpose, precision, and discipline." Across the stars, the galaxy paused. Every civilization considered what had just happened. Humans, long ignored as a quiet species, had shown themselves capable of mastering war and peace alike. Their fleets had moved with perfection, their pilots with skill, and their leaders with wisdom. On Earth, celebrations were quiet but proud. Citizens watched live transmissions of the battle. They saw humans, their children, their neighbors, their friends, standing at the forefront of history. They understood, as they had always believed, that humanity was more than survival. Humanity was mastery, creativity, and courage in action. Rian returned to Earth aboard his fighter, now docking with the massive fleet carrier. He stepped onto the deck, feeling the weight of what had been accomplished. Mira followed him, her expression calm but proud. "We did it," Rian said, though his voice carried more awe than triumph. "Yes," Mira replied, "but we also showed the galaxy who we are. Not just that we can fight, but that we act with control. That is what makes humans dangerous to enemies and trustworthy to allies." Leon addressed the crew one final time before they dispersed. "Remember what we did here. Remember why we fought, how we fought, and what we protected. Humanity's strength is not in firepower alone. It is in our ability to act with purpose, to control our power, and to defend life with precision. Today, we change the galaxy. Tomorrow, we ensure it remembers us." Across Alliance worlds, leaders began to adjust their policies. Some sent emissaries to Earth, offering friendship and collaboration. Others quietly bolstered their own defenses, realizing that the galaxy had entered a new era. Humanity had not conquered, but it had demanded respect. On the Vorn frontiers, whispers spread among surviving fleets. Tales of the humans' precision, discipline, and coordination traveled faster than any starship. Soldiers who had known only victory now feared a species that had shattered their confidence. The warlord's retreat was not shameful, it was survival. But survival came with knowledge. The galaxy would remember humanity's rise. Inside the human flagship, Leon watched the stars. There was still work to do. Humanity had revealed its might, but power always carried responsibility. The Vorn were contained, the Alliance stabilized, but the galaxy had eyes on Earth now. All civilizations were aware that humans had arrived as more than observers. They had arrived as masters of war, keepers of peace, and guardians of balance. Rian and Mira joined him on the bridge. "Do you think they will ever underestimate us again?" Rian asked. Leon shook his head. "Some may try. But today, humanity has proven that we do not fight for glory or fear. We fight for life, for order, and for the future. That is our strength. That is what makes us human." The galaxy had paused. It had watched humanity rise and seize control of a battle it could not ignore. Civilizations reconsidered old prejudices and old alliances. They studied humanity's actions, learning lessons that could not be taught in any academy. Humanity's rise was quiet at first, then undeniable. They did not claim territory or resources. They claimed respect through action, through skill, and through the courage to face the greatest threat the galaxy had seen in centuries. Refugees returned to their planets, rebuilding what had been lost. Alliance fleets repaired their ships, and throughout every corner of the galaxy, stories spread of the humans who had stood unshaken before the Vorn. Rian walked through the fleet corridors, seeing soldiers helping civilians, engineers repairing ships, and leaders coordinating recovery. He understood that the war was over, but the responsibility had just begun. Humans had power, and they would use it wisely. Mira looked out the viewport, seeing the calm stars. "We changed history today," she said. "The galaxy will not forget the humans who stopped the Vorn." Leon nodded. "Yes. And as long as we hold ourselves to purpose and discipline, the galaxy will know humanity as protectors, not conquerors. That is the lesson of today. That is the mark of our true strength." Across the stars, whispers grew into understanding. Humanity had revealed its true might, and the galaxy had paused, then shuddered in recognition. They had faced the impossible, controlled the chaos, and emerged as something no species could ignore. For the first time, humans were no longer the distant observers. They were a force to be respected, a power to be trusted, and a presence that could not be denied. The galaxy would remember this moment forever, and humanity would continue, quiet but vigilant, watching the stars, ready for any challenge, but always acting with wisdom, discipline, and purpose. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of a new order, and the memory of Earth's fleets, its pilots, and its leaders would echo through the stars for generations. Humanity had unveiled its true might, not through destruction alone, but through control, precision, and unwavering courage. The stars were calm now, but the galaxy knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had arrived.